Welcome to Drum Corps Concept Design 101, where you learn to design your own show concept. In this overview video, we'll cover depth, process, and interpretation. You'll learn to call out designers on their poor choices and recognize them when they create cohesive, smart designs. There are hundreds of professional designers in the US, and they create new productions every month. From Broadway to large-format rock concerts. From music videos to marching band and drum corps shows. Professional designers coordinate the music and visuals to convey an artistic statement. How do they do it? According to Aristotle, the ancient Greek philosopher and father of the arts, there are 5 components to a performing art of substance. The requirements are cohesion, authenticity, universality, uniqueness, and engineered emotion. We'll discuss these 5 components in this series on design.
An easier way to remember it is that professional designers take special effort to ensure that their productions are 1. Logical, 2. Engaging, and 3. Containing some high-stakes human truth. When your production makes sense, engages the audience and captures some universal truth about humanity, the show will have depth and longevity.
For example, In the Heights is a movie musical offering a theme of community surviving big money gentrification. It's logical, it's engaging, and it contains a high-stakes human truth in the form of a thematic argument. A thematic argument is a debate over a life issue, big or small. Thematic arguments are the underpinning of all great works of art, from Rodin's The Kiss to the animated comedy series, The Simpsons. As drum corps shows become more sophisticated, designers are adding thematic arguments. For example, the Blue Devils Ghostlight had a thematic argument that was high stakes. Ghostlight asked audiences to consider that drum corps shows, just like theater and film, are starting to ask life's big questions. Just like Hamlet and Oedipus who ask, "What is our fate?" Ghostlight was logical, engaging, and contained the biggest questions of human existence. To be or not to be? Will we die seeking the truth? And is tap dance the fourth horseman of the apocalypse? Seriously, including a thematic argument is a surefire way to create a production with depth of concept, and that's the professional standard. Now that we've covered depth, let's look at the process that professional designers use to create a show concept of substance.
In a perfect world, designers follow this logical order to create a production. 1. Select a resonant theme with immediacy, depth, and passion. 2. Pick music that supports that theme. 3. Create an arc of visual action that illustrates that theme. 4. Create props and costumes that support it.
But let's get real. Most drum corps and marching band show designers follow this order instead. 1. Pick the music based on what your friends arranged for you. 2. Pick a vague show title to confuse everyone. That gives you wiggle room in case you have to change the show later. Some of the worst ones are vague titles like The Gray Area, or a title like Unidentified Emotion. Or somewhere in the middle. These vague show titles are an indication that the show doesn't have a solid theme. 3. Figure out some symbolic props to push around and to stand on them at the ending. 4. Drink. The truth is, drum corps show designers often leave the design process to the last minute. They have to juggle other productions, year-end grading for their high schools and colleges, and deal with issues like music licensing, arranging, drill writing, and uniform and costume purchases. Despite all the time constraints, there's still no excuse for some of the weak last-minute design choices that designers are making in drum corps. Let's outline the process of creating a solid show concept to make it easier. The truth is, you don't have to start with a theme, you don't have to start with a rock-solid music lineup. A professional quality production concept can start with any catalyst. For example, 1. Why not start by picking the props, the way the Blue Devils did with mirrors in their show Through a Glass Darkly? 2. Then pick music based on the subject of mirrors. 3. Develop an arc of dramatic action around the mirrors. 4. Solidify the theme later as the show evolves. In the Blue Devils show, designers later developed 2 themes around the music of Bob Gradinger and his jazz work, City of Glass. The first theme was the artist-defying convention, and the second theme was self-reflection. That's right. There's not just one procedure for creating a show.
Create the elements of your show in any order, as long as each element logically supports the others.
A better way to picture it is spokes on a wheel, where the center of the wheel is the theme. All the other elements tie into that particular center theme. It's easy. For the final chapter in this episode, let's talk about the responsibility of visual interpretation. Visual elements are what make drum corps shows different from a typical concert. Symphonic concert music has no visual element and no responsibility of interpretation. In concert music, the performers can be conjuring images in their own minds that are completely separate from the audience. No two audience members are likely envisioning the same images as they listen to the music. The orchestra and conductor are under no obligation to convey any visual imagery, and under no obligation to discuss any real-world meaning, theme, or context for the underlying music, except for maybe some program notes. Their job is easy. The performers sit and play, and have no responsibility for explaining the music or why they selected it. Drum corps has it harder. A drum corps designer provides visuals that bring the music to life in a logical and engaging way, and ask the audience to be on the same page. Drum corps designers are responsible for visual interpretation. They must be aware of 1. The historical context of the music. 2. The current social context of the subject or theme. 3. How each piece of music fits together. 4. The clarity of purpose of any visual elements. And 5. How show elements can be misinterpreted by general audiences. Most drum corps shows don't have dialogue or narration, which makes it difficult for some designers to convey the subject matter or theme. In professional productions, directors create storyboards for each section of the show. Directors get feedback on the storyboards from industry professionals and audience members alike. Designers tweak the production so that their choices are being interpreted as intended. However, some show coordinators avoid storyboarding and feedback sessions. As a result, many drum corps shows are lacking a responsibility of interpretation. For example, cadets played Shostakovich's 10th Symphony, which LA Philharmonic conductor Gustavo Dudamel described as a symphony that can only be played in reference to the horrors of Stalin's Russia. He said, 48 minutes of tragedy, despair, terror, and violence, and 2 minutes of triumph. But cadets played it, displaying random things relating to the number 10, including neon, the 10th element on the periodic table. That's a clear misinterpretation that cannot be dismissed, ignored, or explained away. When the LA Philharmonic tells you you're misinterpreting the music, pay attention. Another example of drum corps designers lacking responsibility of interpretation, the Madison Scouts show Last Man Standing, was based on Mad Max. But the show focused exclusively on Native American imagery, including feathered headdresses, teepees, scalpings, Native American drums, and tribal infighting, all misappropriated and reinforcing negative stereotypes. Clearly lacking responsibility of interpretation. The Cavaliers' show on madness and creativity was about mental illness, illustrating John Nash's string theory, which Nash developed as he struggled with schizophrenia. That madness theme, coupled with the representation of gay men from Rufus Wainwright's Oh What a World, created an uncomfortable matchup of mental illness and gay men in cages. Are gay men mentally ill? Later, the director said that the show was not about mental illness, although they kept the title, On Madness and Creativity, and kept the schizophrenic string theory visuals, and kept rainbow-colored Rorschach blotters linking gay men with mental illness. That lacks responsibility of interpretation. A final example, the Blue Nights show, That 1 Second, was about positive memories in our lives and the last moments of life.
I always heard your entire life flashes in front of your eyes, the second before you die.
The dialogue, however, was taken out of context from the controversial film, American Beauty, about a pedophile who was killed for having sex with his daughter's underage girlfriend. The film has a hauntingly dark point of view about restrictive social mores in America. The Blue Nights design team took the film's dialogue completely out of context and totally ignored the original dark intent of the film, making it look like no one on the design team had ever seen the film American Beauty, but used only the cheerful excerpts of dialogue from the disturbingly dark film. That's a clear lack of responsibility of interpretation. To wrap up, in this section of responsibility of visual interpretation, we learned that designers must be aware of the music's context, the show's clarity of purpose, and avoid misinterpretation. With shows that are this expensive, this massive, this intentional, the meaning of the show should be specific, high stakes, and explainable by the designers. Not, it's up to interpretation. Designers must be responsible for the specific content of the show and that its members understand it.
Drum corps members must understand the meaning underneath the show they're performing and get involved in the design choices.
That ends this class in the process of creating a show concept, where we learned the importance of a thematic argument and the process of assembling like elements, and the responsibility of interpretation. Next time we'll get into the details of how show elements, even abstract or subconsciously derived elements, support each other with cohesion. Don't forget, marching members, never perform a show that you don't fully understand. And hold your professional designers accountable. See you next time.